Mic check, 1, 2, mic check. Level still good, level still clear, cool. Mic check, 1, 2, 1, 2, good. Audio check, mic check. Good. All right. Everyone else good? Mic, sound. See, mic check. 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay, good. Give me a thumbs up when you're all ready.
A lot of thumbs. All right, can everybody hear me okay? Is that going to be good? I like it. Good afternoon, I'm Matt Clark, M-A-T-T-C-L-A-R-K. I'm the commander of the Denver Police Department's Major Crimes Division. First of all, thank you all for being here today as we announce the arrest of 3 individuals related to the murder of 42-year-old Ma Kaing, which occurred near 13th Avenue and Xenia Street on Friday, July 15th, 2022. To begin, we appreciate the patience and trust that the family and the community has had in the investigators and the department as they've diligently worked to gather sufficient evidence to support the prosecution of these offenders. While we're announcing the identification and apprehension of several people today who were responsible for Ms. Kaing's death, we understand there's still a large hole for the family and for the East Denver community that won't be filled by the resolution of this case. Please know that the department and our victim services teams will continue to support the families as we move forward through this process. To protect the integrity of the pending prosecution, I will not be able to detail the investigative tactics or speak in detail about statements or evidence that we've recovered that led to the apprehension of these individuals, but I will provide a brief overview of the incident to offer context and attempt to answer any questions that I can. On Friday, July 15, 2022, at about 11:30 p.m., Denver police officers from District 2 were called to the 1300 block of Xenia Street on a report of a shooting incident. The responding officers quickly arrived, and they located Ms. Kaing in the roadway suffering from a gunshot wound. She was assessed by paramedics and pronounced deceased at the scene. Detectives from the department's homicide unit were assigned to investigate the case. At the scene, the investigators and crime scene personnel recovered more than 36 shell casings that had been fired from multiple firearms. In the days following the homicide, investigators spoke with family members, neighbors, and witnesses. They reviewed video evidence and recovered additional evidence connected to the case, which ultimately led to the identification of 4 offenders. Through the investigation, it was learned that multiple individuals, including the 4 offenders, were in New Freedom Park near 13th and Xenia. These individuals had observed a vehicle that was driving around the park. They didn't recognize it and didn't believe the vehicle belonged in the area. The offenders, each armed with a handgun, shot multiple rounds at the passing vehicle as it traveled on 13th Avenue. At the same time, Ms. Kaing and her family were unloading items from a vehicle in the 1300 block of Xenia Street. One of the rounds fired from within the park struck Ms. Kaing and killed her. None of the other family members who were near the vehicle were injured, and investigators did find numerous bullet strikes and defects in windows, buildings, and vehicles in the 1300 block of Xenia, consistent with rounds being fired from the New Freedom Park. Over the past 6 weeks, investigators have been working tirelessly on this case, and as a result of this work, detectives obtained arrest warrants for 4 individuals. One individual, 20-year-old Pa Ray, P-A, and then R-E-H, his last name, was determined to already be in custody in the Arapahoe County Jail on unrelated charges, so the case will be added upon him. 2 of the 4 individuals were taken into custody yesterday without incident. They are 22-year-old Nura Allah, so N-U-R-A-A-H-L-A. And the other one is Lou Ray, L-U-R-E-H, 22-year-old male. These will be included in the press release also. All individuals are being held for investigation of first-degree murder with extreme indifference, attempted first-degree murder with extreme indifference, and illegal discharge of a firearm. A 4th offender had indicated to the police that he intended to turn himself in, and he has not done so, and he appears to be avoiding apprehension efforts. That individual is 19-year-old Swa Bay, S-W-A-B-A-Y. Mr. Bay is alleged to have discharged a firearm during the incident. He is considered armed and dangerous, and we're asking anyone with information about his whereabouts to contact 911 or make an anonymous tip through the Crime Stoppers service at 720-913-STOP. Information leading to the arrest of Mr. May result in a reward up to $2,000. The case against these individuals will be presented to the Denver District Attorney's Office later this week, and the District Attorney will ultimately determine what charges will be filed. And again, we'll release the names in a press release so you guys have those as well. I think as I conclude, I just want to acknowledge the incredible work that's occurred here to get to this point. It took 6 weeks, a lot of long nights. The detectives, the investigators who were in the crime lab, who supported this, the members of the District Attorney's Office who were with us along the way, have done a tremendous job to get us to this point. We do believe there's one additional individual who is involved in this case who discharged a firearm who we have not identified. So work is being done to identify that 5th individual, and once that's done, we'll obtain an arrest warrant and take that person into custody. Investigators had an opportunity to meet with the family today and update them on the status of this case. The family did not want to be present, is asking for privacy during this time, but they did. I had an opportunity to have a conversation with them this afternoon and did provide me some information that they wanted relayed, and I'll paraphrase the statement from Ms. Kaing's son, which he would ask to be relayed to the community today. First, I would like to thank Detective Estrada and the whole department for working this case. I want to thank them for how quickly this case was solved, as it was quicker than I assumed. My family and I hope all of the people involved are caught and convicted. I hope that gang members look at these situations and make changes in their lives. Stop terrorizing people. I hope that families will look at this situation and pay attention to their kids. I hope there are less bad people in this world so these tragedies do not happen, so families do not lose loved ones. These people should be ashamed of themselves. They should be ashamed of their choices and actions. Again, I cannot express enough gratitude for the work that went into catching these people. Thank you. That's the information I have to provide. I can attempt to answer any questions. Again, I won't be able to get into the details of the investigation. Yes, ma'am. They were associated with the neighborhood, and we do believe there's gang affiliation. Surveillance video from businesses and residences, apartment complexes in the area, yes, sir. Any available video that was captured that night is being considered as part of the investigation.
There was a heightened Crime Stoppers reward at one point for information that we're talking about today. Did that play into this at all? Was this tips from the public that led to these arrests?
The investigators, in my conversations with them, had tremendous support from the community as they went around, did neighborhood canvases, tried to get information. I'm not aware of any specific Crime Stoppers tips that led to furthering this case, but Crime Stoppers is a tremendous partner for us, and I know it'll be beneficial as we move forward as we attempt to arrest Mr. Bay.
You said that Mr. Bay indicated that he wanted to turn himself in. Did he make those indications to the police, or were they just speak to other witnesses?
Through his attorney, they had made indications that they were going to turn themselves in, and that did not happen.
Can you identify what gang this is, and have you had difficulties with the gang before?
So I don't want to misspeak and misidentify the gang. I'm not certain of which gang they're affiliated with, sir.
And do they have much of a history of violence on this particular gang?
The particular gang, again, I'm not sure which, I apologize, I don't know which gang I'm associating them with, so I don't want to misspeak on that.
And that these 4, 5, ultimately, you believe from that area or another area of town?
I believe they are known to be in that area and are associated with that area there, in that New Freedom Park.
Do you know if any of the people in the car that they were shooting at were injured, or do you know if they were returned fire?
We do not know either at this point, actually. We have not found the vehicle that they were shooting at. We do have evidence, video evidence that confirms what we've come to learn regarding the vehicle, but we don't have that vehicle, know if there was defects in that vehicle, nor if anybody was injured. Nobody's reported to have been injured that has come to light in the last 6 weeks.
What were some of the biggest challenges in getting from that incident to where we are today?
It's an extremely complex investigation. You're dealing with multiple offenders, multiple guns, numerous shell casings in there. The complexity is significant when we look at how this transpired, that Ms. Kaing was completely innocent in this, had no involvement, didn't have any connection to the individuals involved, and was a completely innocent person. So that added to the complexity too, and it was just tremendous work, community cooperation, and investigative techniques that led to them being able to resolve and get to where we are right now.
You stated that Mr. Bay is presumed to be
It's based on, we believe that Mr. Bay discharged a firearm during this incident.
Is there any way of tying which gun fired the bullet that killed her, if you could be able to determine?
So I can't get into the ballistic evidence that exists in this case.
Ma Kaing was a native of Burma, I believe. Are these young people of Burmese descent, or
Yeah, I'm sorry, your questions are good. I don't know where their origin is from, so I'm sorry.
did any of them express any regret for the death of this woman who's a pillar of the community?
I don't want to speak, I can't speak to their statements at this point.
Certainly, we saw a lot of community gatherings after this, and obviously it was blurred in the community, and 2 points were raised. One, the 911 issue. The second was folks concerned about violence in this park, in this area. Has DPD altered tactics in any way because of that, because of this incident?
I think there's a significant increased presence of both uniformed and undercover officers attempting to be eyes on, be visible, be a deterrent to that, be aware of the community concerns and taking information. I think the community is engaged in providing information, and the district officers are responding to and dealing with what information is coming in. I'm sorry, I don't know that. If the lighting, I'm not sure.
Sir, at the last meeting, the apartment complex, there was a question from the community stating if there were going to be more walking patrol, but at the time,
Yeah, Chief Thomas, okay.
Chief Thomas stated that not at the time.
Okay.
So is this still, like, when you say there's more presence, what does that mean? More cars, more?
Yep. I think it's officers in vehicles. They're aware of the concerns in the community there. They're taking information, trying to be available and responsive to what's coming in. The district community resource officers are engaging with the community and passing along information to the appropriate sources to get the resources that are available.
Where in the park was this group standing when they started firing?
I kind of, from what I gather, it's in the middle of the park area. Yeah.
Can you speak to the criminal history of the suspects?
I can't, but I know it'll be available to you once you have the name and date of birth, and you can gather that.
That letter you read from John.
It wasn't a letter, it was a conversation I had, and I paraphrased his statement, his comments. That's John, yes, sir, yes.
Sir, what was it like to have that conversation?
Well, I know it was a good conversation to have. It was a relief for the family. They know that there's a long road ahead. They know that there's still additional people that we're going after. But like I said when we started, it's only a portion. There's still a huge hole, and they're going to have major family events that Ma won't be present for anymore, and they realize that. They're clearly working as a family. They have support systems in place, which is encouraging. And I know he was extremely appreciative of all the work that's gone in at this point.
People who live in that apartment complex told me that Ma's body was left out for a long time. How long was she out there, and why was she out there so long?
She was pronounced deceased at the scene. The paramedics determined that there was no viability, so did not attempt to transport her from the scene. Those are difficult scenarios. We work as quickly as possible, being mindful of all of the evidence. This was a evidence-heavy scene in terms of the items that needed to be collected there. And so it's a methodical process to make sure it's done consistently every time. And we worked as quickly as we could with our partners at the Denver Medical Examiner's Office to have Ma removed from the scene and taken to their office.
And as far as you know, it was just handguns used, there were no rifles or anything?
That's correct.
Do you know the origin?
I'm sorry, I missed that.
Do you know the origin of these guns, or did any of them legally possess them? And did you collect any guns along with the arrest?
We have recovered 4 firearms at this point, and we are working on getting trace reports from the ATF to determine exactly the source of those firearms.
Did all 5 suspects have firearms?
We believe so.
And that's from video.
That's from video, that's from statements we've received from people we've talked to throughout the investigation as well.
Do you think they understood what they did?
I think they do now. Do I think they understood what they did? I think they did not realize, they may or may not have realized what was in their backdrop. And they just indiscriminately fired over 36 rounds in that direction. It's a residential area. It's extremely tragic and senseless that the result is the death of Ma. There was a vehicle that was driving around the park that they didn't recognize and didn't think belonged in the area. So their response was to fire upon that vehicle. No, just as Lisa asked, I don't have specifics. I mean, I have a color of the vehicle, but we have not recovered that vehicle yet or determined if anybody who was inside that vehicle. It was I believe it was a sedan. There have been criminal acts. There's been reports of crimes occurring in that area, so they were aware of that. Correct. So I can't comment on who. Again, we're waiting on some ATF traces on the specifics of where the firearms came from, but at this point, I don't have information to release regarding who owned them.
If they were firing at another car, one would presume that this might be an area in gang conflict. Is there a conflict between gangs in that area that should mean further police saturation of that area?
I don't think there's a specific gang conflict. Those things can spark at any time. They interpreted something, unfortunately, that it was that they deemed to be problematic, or that their response was to discharge their firearms at. It's tough to reconcile and make sense of that because it doesn't make sense.
Do you have a description of that vehicle, and are you trying to look for it?
We are looking for it as part of the investigation. I don't have a good description to give you at this point. If I get something further, I'll release it through the PIO's office.
There's a lot of kids who play in that park. What would be your message to any of these young kids coming up who might be attracted to that lifestyle, the flashiness and things like that?
Well, I got to give credit to John. I think we go back to his statement and say, take a look at this situation, take a look at what happened here and change your life. Parents, be mindful of what your kids are doing. Be involved and ask questions and be aware. I think he stated it best, that that's the message, to recognize the consequences and don't engage in this activity. Well, certainly that these, regardless of where these incidents are occurring, they're getting the full attention of the police department, the resources that the department, that the city has to resolve these cases. We're successful in resolving these cases because of the support of the community, and we need to continue to have that. We will continue to pursue these offenders and make sure everybody that we can is held accountable so that they cannot inflict further violence on our communities.
Matt, can you say how many detectives and how many hours you put into this?
I wish I could quantify that for you. It is an investigative team. There's homicide investigators. We're in the crime lab building right now, so the crime scene technicians, the forensic scientists that are above us right now working to resolve this. The DA's office was there with us. I mean, it is an incredible team, and the machine watching that work and how dedicated these people are, these investigators are, is impressive.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, guys.
And I have a press release.